It's a little crowded here, right? Huh? I mean, it's cozy. Some of us are cuddling. There's a physical connection. I hope we're more in this circle. I would hope that we would be here for the same reason that people were in this house. And again, as I've been saying a lot, I hope we crowd this house with people who need to hear God's word. I hope none of us would be like those scribes and Pharisees who are looking at Jesus and saying, where does he get off doing that? But unfortunately, that's often enough there. It's in our world, it's in our church, and even often enough our attitude. Who is this guy to forgive somebody? We might say, who are we to continue that practice ourselves? But we just took responsibility for it. We entered into the dying and rising of Jesus. So you and I are in a whole new place. Hopefully we're getting into a new place by taking time like this. And I'll want to share a little bit more, but then I welcome you to get into it too. And one of the images or transitional place that I invite us to go is the experiencing consciousness of Francis's own life. You may or may not remember, but in his last testament to his brothers, he made it really clear, very emphatic way, that there was something that really absolutely nauseated him. But entering into a relationship with him, again, came to sweetness. What it was not a paralyzed person, but a leper. Someone who had leprosy. And it's only recently that leprosy has found a cure or been accepted, or people with it somehow are a little bit more comfortable in social settings. But in the time of Francis, lepers were considered dead. They were taken to the outside of the city gates, and they weren't to come in again anymore. And they had to ring bells. And you remember them in the other stories of Jesus, where there are calls for healing and a recognition that lepers are outcasts. In fact, with that sort of condition was also the implication that their parents probably did something wrong. There was a sense of sin. There was a sense of sin about physical illness. And so we excluded people like that. A couple things. We might say, what are we still excluding about ourselves that we didn't bring into the room, let alone other people? What is there about you or me and our own attitude or practice of life? We don't believe that Jesus would heal us. That's one thing. And then, as I've been saying often, and I hope we're going to take it there in one way or another, and bring ourselves to a consciousness of the fact that there are other people who need us in the world. Who are they that we might put them outside the circle? Who are they maybe that our religious practices will put them outside our circle? Who are we that we would think that God would not reach them through our ability to extend ourselves and bring them here? That's somewhat what's going on with Jesus. They're already scared about him. You know, it's like these political people are going on right now between different parties. They've got people showing up in the crowds of others to really find out what Nit might be saying, or Mitt might be saying, Newt, or whoever next, or Obama. You know, they have plants there. What's going on? And we hear them crying out here. What does Jesus think he's doing? What is this guy doing? And he confronts them right away. He confronts them by healing. Confronts them by calling them on it, but by acting. Within that is a bigger and deeper story, it seems to me, that's going on for us. That he acknowledges, okay, you know, it's windy out there, but I don't know, it's a high roof, and I don't know what the shingles are like, and maybe a hurricane will rip them off of this one, but what if all of a sudden you guys met somebody at the bar today, like you did, who would wonder about if he would be welcome here? Or maybe there's a woman somewhere else on this island. Who is it? And then the real question is, my friends, would we take the roof off for them? Would we open this room up for others? Do we know we have the capacity, the ability, and not only that, because in the gospel today, the imitation, not first of Jesus, he receives that reality. But it's, you know, 4 men we hear, or maybe it's 2 men and 2 women. Let's be more inclusive. Let's say it was 4 women who brought a guy in. I mean, what's the world that we're in that would say someone would actually pick you up, Rick, and bring you here? Or pick Dan Riley up and bring him here? I got a hold of you, Abby, earlier today. And see, gee, we wish you were here in this circle. Let's knock the roof off. Let's bring her in. I think that's the energy that's present here, but in a gentle way. But it took some work. It took some real work. It took some belief. Maybe they heard Jesus before and they watched him do something. So, like our baptism renewal today, they had a sense of who he was before. They heard the reading. Maybe they heard him in their presence. But somehow, I believe Jesus recognized in the eyes of those people like you, Jack, right now, that there was a desire for this man to be healed. And I do believe that Jesus was responding not only to the man's need to be healed, but his friends, or the people who found him on the side of the road, who took the time to bring him to the house, found out it was crowded because others wanted to listen to him. And now sometimes our church is not as crowded, certainly not of this wonderful age group that's gathered here today, even though we have an expansiveness of who's in the circle age-wise and otherwise and region-wise and everything else. So we're not lookalikes, we're not the same. But somehow that was a crowded house. But there needed to be more room. You might say our heart's crowded right now. What's going to take the roof off our hearts to let somebody in? You could say our church is empty now, but we still don't welcome somebody in. We don't take the roof off. Well, I'm going to say to you, and you and I all know it, priests aren't going to do that right away. Bishops aren't going to do that right away. I mean, hopefully they help out. Hopefully I would. But it's us. It's everybody here. We're the guys, girls who are going to take the roof off and bring somebody in. Drop them in the middle. And right away, even without appeal, God sees it happening. God's going to step forward. And God's going to say, thanks for bringing me here. Be healed. There's a call to action for us today, and then I'll just stop there by saying 2 words out of Corinthians. Maybe 3. Paul made it really clear. Did we hear it? It's not yes and no. It's yes. We came here not to see yes or no. We're not lukewarm. I think it's a pretty hot crowd. And as we are, we need to be. Because the world needs the heat of our love. It needs the strength of our love. Yes. Not in word, but action. It needs us to step up and then step out and step into a world that needs change and action. It needs the love and care that we can bring to it. But we're the ones who are going to take the roof off. We're the ones who are